And I ran across Community Resources for Science, and I took all their workshops, and then when I retired, they hired me. So definitely, if you're not using this website right here, you should be using it. It's a great. Okay, I kind of envisioned this workshop for families and teachers, just to sort of to get kids outside, and we're going to mostly spotlight East Bay Regional Parks. And it's something you could share with families in your class. I know we're not going on field trips now, but maybe this summer you could take some trips with your family and discover some of our wonderful parks. Okay, this is our goals: to share out resources about the wonderful parks, share ideas about helping kids think like a scientist, give you time to plan your expedition into the park, and our everyday goals are to get children outside exploring the natural world. And please, if you have questions, interrupt me or put it in the chat. And if you have something you want to add, please feel free to do that. So this is our kind of tight, fast agenda that we have. We're going to explore the East Bay Parks website. It's a treasure hunt. And I just realized that the invitation says a scavenger hunt. So I don't know if you feel like a scavenger or a treasure hunter, but either way, it's gonna be the same. So, and then after, we'll just look a little bit at city parks, state parks, and a couple of national park websites. So a lot of this is website exploration. And then we have Think Like a Scientist, just some ideas about having your kids outside, still doing the science notebooks, still documenting what they discover. And then I'm going to give you some time to make a plan, and hopefully we'll be able to hear about your plans. Okay. And these are just three beautiful pictures of three of our beautiful parks. Look at how different they are. And they're all right around us. They're all here. It's amazing. Okay. And this is a picture of the website, and I'm going to ask you to use this website. So Corinne, could you put the website in the chat for that?
Yes.
Okay, and then you can go right to it, but I just want to point out some things you might need for our little treasure hunt. You can go to, I'll go to the site in a minute too, but parks and trails, different activities. Some of them you have to register. All kinds of things about trails that are closed, trails that aren't closed. So I'm going to exit the website.
There's the link in the chat.
Okay, and there's mine. So in a little while, I'm going to give you some questions, quite a few questions. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to find the answers to those questions using this website. And you're going to need, I almost cheated. I left gravel there. Get rid of that one. Don't use gravel. No, you could use gravel if you need to. There's different ways to find things. The way that I found the questions was by going to Parks and Trails. And it lists just tons of things. I can't say how many because that's one of our questions. So has everybody made it to the website? I'm hoping. I don't hear anybody. I don't hear any wait.
There's one thumbs up. There's
okay. All right. There we go.
More yeses.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going back and oops, sorry, I got lost. So I'll get unlost quickly. All right. I'm going to put up some questions. And I'm not sure if I put them on present, you'll be able to see them. So you need to answer these questions. And I have my stopwatch here. I'm going to time you for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to ask people to share out their answers. And maybe you know some of these answers. And just like when we talk to the kids about science, tap into your prior knowledge. See what you already know. Say go. Is everybody ready to do their 5 minutes on part 1 of the treasure hunt question? Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So Oh, I forgot to tell you to get a piece of paper and a pencil. I forgot, so you can write them down in case you don't remember. But maybe you just remember. If by chance you finish long before the 5 minutes, go ahead and look up some interesting things you can share with us. There's lots of things on this website, lots of fabulous parks to explore. And I really don't know how long this will take, so if everybody gets done way before 5 minutes, let me know, and we'll stop early. Hey, you're about halfway there. Okay, 30 seconds. We're gonna stop and you're gonna tell me all the answers. I don't know, my internet is unstable. Get stable. Okay, that's it. We're done.
Ugh,
Okay.
you finished.
No, I'm sorry. Well, let's see
Oh,
how
well.
many answers we got. I
That's
want to
okay.
see everybody here. All right. Does anybody know how many parks there are in the system? In just the park system? I'm going to put it on gallery. Hopefully people will answer and talk to me a little bit. Let's make it a little bit interactive.
We have a 73.
73. Okay, close. Yeah. Yeah, it's around 80 parks in this one system. Isn't that great? All right, does anybody know which was a diamond mine?
Black diamond mines.
Black diamond mines, yes. I can't read it. I can't read
Took
it.
my class there.
Me too. I used to go.
As you can see, a lot of these places are tied to the local history. So it really makes it good for teachers to be able to tie into different social studies ideas too. Which park was recently renamed for a woman scientist?
Reinhardt Redwood?
Yeah, I just went there. It was beautiful too. They have a beautiful tribute to her and lots of information about her. Okay, this one, I had never heard of this one. Which park contributed gravel to the building of the Intercontinental Railroad? Anybody find that one?
That's the crater.
Yeah, it's a crater up there. Which park has a model railroad museum?
The Golden State Model Railroad?
Oh,
Miller Knox? I don't know.
Miller Knox,
Yes.
yeah. It's fascinating too. I've taken my classes there several times.
It's really cool. I love going there.
Yeah, it is a cool place. What about which park has housed a company that made explosives?
That's Point Pinole.
That's Point Pinole. Which park is a mountain?
Mount Dablin.
Of course, yeah, Mount Diablo, the big one. Which park is located on the east side of the Bay Bridge? I'm totally blanking out on that right now. I don't know. If you don't know, none of us know. We'll have to find out.
Oh,
John Sutter.
What's it called? Oh, it's not Sutter. It's not. I can look it up in a minute. I forgot. Which one was named after the civil rights leader?
Oh, it was Martin Luther King, but I forgot to look which park.
Yeah,
was named.
that's the name of it, Martin Luther King.
Oh yeah, Regional Shoreline in Eloquent Alameda to San Leandro. Yes.
Right.
It's the south. It's south. Okay, great. So the whole point of this is to just get people tied into how many fascinating things there are in the parks. Part two of this is just to give you time to find out what you want to go see, what you'd like to see. So these are just different features. There's no right or wrong answers, places that you can just look on the website and you might want to visit that have great views or allow bikes, or they have dogs, or that you can get to on public transportation. And then I know it's supposed to be outside in the park, but I know we're still in virtual field trip mode. And some of them seem to have some really interesting virtual field trips. So I'm going to give you another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to ask you to just point out some places you found that you thought would be interesting. Is that okay? Everybody all right with that? Okay, go. Good luck. I have to find out where that other park is.
Well, there is a John Sutter East Shore.
Yeah, isn't that it, John Shore Park? I think it is. That's the one I had in mind. Yeah. I've heard of several teachers that did some of the Tilden virtual field trips this year, and they were good. Uh-oh, that's not what I meant to do, sorry. I'm gonna stop sharing just for a minute so I can see see what we have to report out here. Sorry, just a minute. Go back. Did anybody find something new that they hadn't seen before or a place they would like to visit? Let me look at the chat. Did you find some great views or some Native American places or?
I found some with views that I hadn't been to. Los Trampus, and then what was the other one? The Redwoods, the East and the West Ridge. Those
Yeah.
are trails I haven't been to.
Somebody put Lake Anza. Yeah, that's a good swimming place. When I first started teaching, I actually used to take my students swimming there. I don't know if you can legally do that anymore, but we used to do it in the old days. They loved it. Crockett Hills has Native Americans. For me,
No,
it's
Sonoma Regional used to have Native American stuff too.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff right in our neighborhoods here.
Does Ardenwood have something? Is that in Fremont? I heard that. I've never been there.
Coyote Hills definitely does.
Coyote Hills. Okay.
I'm not sure if Ardenwood does or not. Probably. I mean, it's right there in the same neighborhood.
Wonder if we just put that in the search, if that's what you were interested in, then maybe it would pull up a whole list of them. Oh, look at somebody's finding lots of
great places.
Yeah, lots
Yeah.
of good places. Tilden Park has wonderful things and good virtual field trips from what I've heard too.
I hadn't noticed that Quarry Lakes down in Fremont actually it shows park going from the lakes and on the edges of the canal, creek, river, whatever it is, all the way out to the bay. And so that was interesting. I mean, just looking at the map, I found that interesting.
Okay, I'm going to share again. Somebody asked about the virtual field trips because I did find that earlier, and I'll show you where it is. On the East Bay National Parks, what was it under? Was it register field trips? So I went to register and reserve and to field trips and live virtual field trips was right here. And I don't know any of them except for Tilden Park. I know Tilden Park always gets rave reviews, so I don't know the rest of them now. But there it is, if you want to find it. Okay. Anything else? So I'm going to move on. So those are the East Bay Regional Parks, and there's almost 80, and they're fabulous. But there are other parks around us too, and this might help some of your families that maybe they don't go for drives places, maybe they need places that are closer to them. And I just picked out two that I've used before, and I'm going to go to both of them because they have something that the city of Oakland that I think is important for a lot. I have to move the picture, sorry, just a minute. Okay, you can select a language. Can everybody see the city of Oakland site now? Did I do that right?
Yep.
Yep, okay. You can select a language you want to go to and then just put part. It will tell you all kinds of things about it. And unfortunately, you know, COVID is still happening. So on all of these websites, there's rules about how to be COVID safe, what they expect from you. And if places are closed, they let you know as well. So city of Oakland, I wasn't sure where people were coming from. So Oakland, you can select your language and go to whatever park you want to. After they have a whole list of them, services, resources, topics, and then this is an actual just list of all the parks in Oakland. If you were a family that didn't have a car, you could probably find a place you could walk to based on this very extensive list. I was impressed by this. That was good. And then the next one I went to was a place I do know more. It's Knoll. And again, they have languages you can choose from. And then just put parks in the search and it will take you to parks. Not nearly as many as Oakland has, but they have some nice parks there too. So that might be something that your families would appreciate knowing about, how to get places without having to drive. And I'm sure every city has a list of parks. Obviously, we have wonderful California state parks, and I just put in nearest to San Francisco. Came up with these 7 parks. Haven't even heard of some of them, so that was pretty exciting. I've been to Angel Island, Mount Diablo. I haven't been to Castle Rock, and you can find out about all of them on this one website.
Utno is a great redwood park.
Which one is?
Utno, it's in Pescadero, right off the coast, but it's the redwoods that are up off of the coast just a little bit.
Oh, I've never been there. That looks really nice. Yeah. If anybody wants me to go open this up and go there, I can. If I request, okay. I'll move on. And then city parks, state parks, regional parks, and then the most wonderful park in the whole Bay Area, I think, Muir Woods, named after John Muir. And Corin put in this pass for every kid outdoors. You want to explain that to them a little bit?
Yeah, so Every Kid Outdoors they've been doing it for, I don't know, a number of years now.
Yeah.
Kids in 4th grade, it's targeted at 4th grade, can get passes that allows them and their family into the national park. So they don't have to pay the park fee. And this year, they're also including this year's 5th graders because last year with COVID was so weird. So this year it's 4th and 5th grade families can get those passes to get into national parks for free.
And I mean, obviously you're not going to be taking your students there this year probably, but you can still take your kids if you have 4th and 5th grade kids.
So Terry asked what else, other than ecology, what is good about Angel Island? So Angel Island was the immigration point for the West Coast. And so there is a lot of California and immigration to the US history. A lot of the people from Asia immigrated through Angel Island. And so that was the immigration station for a long time. And there's
I've been there and they have wonderful tours with the park rangers.
Yeah. And there was also Nike missile installations out there. And so far, part of World War II was also, it was part of the defense of the West Coast. So there's some World War II history going on there too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. So here's the park that you were talking about, Butano?
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I don't know how it fared with the forest fires last year.
I know Big Basin was burnt.
Yeah, and this is just north of that. So I'm not sure what state it's in at the moment, but most of the redwoods actually did okay, the redwoods themselves, right? So
they kind of thrive on fires in a way. Oh, this one, dogs allowed to. See, in my family, if the dog can't go, we're not going to go. So we could go there. I just wanted to point out, if you don't know about Muir Woods, you have to make reservations now. Years ago, when I taught 2nd grade, we went every year. That was one of our big field trips. We got a bus and we went to Muir Woods. And I'm sure you can still do field trips like that, but even as a family, if you want to go, you have to make reservations. And I think it's filling up probably as we speak. So that goes pretty fast. Okay, so that's about all of the parks that I was going to show you, but there's more. We were talking to you about being, let me go back to presentation. Being more like scientists instead of just going to the park and saying, oh, it's fun running and playing and all the things that, of course, we want to do that. And that's part of going to the park if you're with your family. But if we're going to slow it down a little bit and do some scientific looking around us, here's just some starters. I was thinking of this in terms of little kids up to 5th grade. And I know you've probably seen some of these. And these are just things you could ask your kids. What do you wonder about? What does it remind you of? I like looking for things that are the same patterns and things that are really different. And I'd like to find out more about something. There's so many things to wonder about in nature. And I made this somewhat, maybe not very well organized, but I just put down anything I could think of for people to ask children about. And there's a list and you have access to it, and I'm not going to ask you to read it all right now, but anything you could think of too would be good. And as I started, it says to be sure to document your findings, slow down, exercise your mind as well as your body. So when you go on these trips with your family or with others, or with however you go on them, it's a good idea to take something to write with, if you possibly can, and you can look at all the different types of trees in a certain area, or see how many different kinds of birds you can find, see if things are man-made or natural. I should check the time before I just keep rambling on. So there's lots of things that you could be looking at. And thinking like a scientist means acting like a scientist, and scientists always document. And for some reason, I didn't post anything that has drawings on it, but science drawings and labeling are very important. This is just my little field study book. There's lots of scientists you can access information about that just go into the field and study nature, different specialties, different things to do, and your kids can do the same thing. I should have put a picture right here that has drawings on it, drawings and labeling. Community Resources for Science has lots of resources about science notebooking. If you need help with that, there's lots of things you could look up there. And then there's another way to document what you see, which is sometimes what we all do. We take pictures of it. These, I just went to 3 different parks in the last 2 weeks. Pictures I just got that I would have taken had nothing to do with this. So if you saw something like these things, what are some questions that you could ask, that your kids might ask, or that you could ask them? What do you think they would be wondering about if they saw these pictures? Anybody have any ideas?
What the bird's doing. Why is the bird, over the water like that?
And this is the best picture I got, but what it was is I watched 5 pelicans for about 20 minutes. They were diving into the water to get fish. It was fascinating, but I didn't get a good picture. I did write about it.
Oh, wow.
It was
That's
amazing.
cool.
It was very cool. That was kind of the best one that made it look sort of like a pelican. And what do you think the goats are for? Just wild, crazy goats wandering around, intimidating people on the trail? No. What do we need goats in our parks for? Anybody know?
The grasses,
Yeah.
eating the grasses. They're on the hill all the time near the house where I grew up. So they need to eat that stuff so things don't burn.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're good for that. And I don't know, my friend and I, when we were walking, we had a question like, why don't they have sheep? So that was something that just naturally came out of what we saw, is why is there only goats? Why don't we have sheep? So we had to speculate on that. We didn't know. Does anybody know why they don't have sheep?
Don't the goats eat more and eat everything? I don't know. I'm just guessing.
It has to do with what they eat, yeah. But we remembered that in the beginning of California and the West, the cattle people and the sheep people fought, because the sheep apparently eat things all the way down and they don't come back. The goats, they'll have to come back next year and clean up everything that they cleaned up. If you put sheep, that would be it. So it's just, there's so many things to wonder about. And then this, does anybody know what this is? The big red,
A mushroom.
it's a giant mushroom.
Ah,
And does anybody know what kind it is? I don't know the name of it, but I happened to be hiking with somebody that day whose friend is a mushroom, I don't know, expert, I guess. And she said, I think those are the psychedelic mushrooms. I've never seen them. I've seen them in this park a whole bunch of times, but usually they're smaller. This one was, and there was a whole field of them.
Wow.
And apparently those are the good ones if you want to open your mind or something, but don't eat them otherwise. Whoops, oh, I hit the wrong thing again, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
never eat a mushroom unless you know
Yes.
exactly what it is.
Don't eat those. Yeah, well, you wouldn't die, but you'd
Well,
be in trouble a little bit.
unfortunately, there's a lot of mushrooms that look like each other, so you don't want to make that mistake.
No, you don't. But they were beautiful. And then there was a lot of them too. They were really pretty. Okay, are there any other questions or answers or things that you decided? We're not done yet. You have one more thing to do. I'm sure that you can think of lots of answers to add to my long list of things to wonder about when you're walking in some of our parks. I used to do this in Point Pinole a lot. They have 3 distinct habitats that you can see. They have this shore along the water, and then they have the eucalyptus wooded areas, and then they have the grasslands. And the kids very different creatures in those 3 different places. And I learned that from going to Community Resource for Science. Before that, Point Pinole was just my dog's favorite place. Then it became my favorite place to take field trips. Okay. So I wanted to give you lots of time to make a plan of a place you would visit with the class or with your family, or, you know, we can do however you want to do it. Pretend that there is no COVID and you can go wherever you want, whenever you want, or plan with COVID in mind. And what will you take with you? Where will you go? And what sorts of questions will you ask when you get there? And how many people are here?
We have 9 at the moment. So I thought maybe we'd do 3 breakout rooms.
Yeah, that sounds good. 3 breakout rooms. And then we're going to give you lots of time, because I'd like you to really be able to explore that site and to find places you want to go. So we will come back and ask you to share out a little bit in, what is it now, about 10 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and create these breakout rooms. Let's see if I do it correctly.
All right, let me stop sharing here. There's your questions.
And hold on, to do a little bit of adjustment here. All right.
From Red Bluff, and she came to find out where to send her families in the summertime. I thought that was kind of
Excellent.
Yeah. But she had to go take a meeting, so. And I just stopped and found out that Kim went to the school that I taught at for 25 years.
Absolutely. Yes. So you probably know some of my teachers like Mr. Bada and Miss Rathjens and Mr. Vincent and
Yeah.
Mrs. Carlson, Mrs. Hill, Miss Reeves. I actually ran into Miss Reeves, who was my first grade teacher, who did transfer out after my year, but her daughter's a principal